What's up, guys? Welcome back to Mygolfspy HQ. Today, we've got a little something different for you. A couple weeks ago, we headed out to Carlsbad, California for a little business trip, but we had some fun time set aside to hang out with Matt Ginella, Alan Shipnuck, and Colt Knedler of the Firepit Collective. Enjoy.
Welcome to Goat Hill Park, boys.
Thank you very much.
This is it's good to have you. I mean, you're obviously rolling around and hitting a lot of things while you're in town. But what made you think Goat Hill Park? What was the intrigue here?
I think the intrigue was just authenticity. You know, it's what I want our brand and who we are in this industry to stand for. And you know, there's just not much of that left from what I see. And when I look at you people as humans, for one, and then what you're trying to do too, I just see something that I recognize, you know, and I haven't seen that in a long time. What you guys do isn't my expertise, and I'm sure equipment might not be for you all, which is totally fine because we're cut from similar cloths, I think, in the fact that we want to do it how I say is either do it right or don't do it. And that's what I see you guys doing. And I've met you a couple times. I've never met Alan. I've never met you in person, well, one time in person. And man, that's pretty shameful that we don't know you guys better because we're both in this industry and it's smaller than you think. And I think these are two unique groups of people in the industry, and I think we should start to work with those people more and more, or at least get to know them better as people.
This is weird because you came from that world where everything is so polished and everything, you know, you want it to be as perfect as it could be. Yeah. And Adam and I, in the early days especially, were like, seat of our pants, hopefully this doesn't suck too bad and we're good.
Yeah, but that's what people respond to, is when it's real. You know, the polish, I think, is a detriment at some level. Like, it drives people away. They don't want to feel like they're getting sold or played. The authenticity is that, and that's especially what you guys were doing was so unique.
I think it is what people want now, right? Back in the day, people wanted polished, I think.
I was wildly jealous of the rawness of things like No Laying Up or Eric Anders Lang. Being watchable and raw, that's as good as it gets.
No, it's like professionally unpolished.
Professionally unpolished is actually, if you can do that,
that's the magic.
That's the magic.
I don't remember, so apologize if I didn't get this right, but I remember you guys posted something of you like falling down in the wind or something.
Yeah, at Critch Island.
Okay, so I went, they're getting it, man. Like that's it right there, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people would just trash that, right, as nothing. But that's real, that is humans, right?
Well, it's also one of Matt's, you know, main moves. I mean, the fall over is a classic slapstick.
If you play with him, Matt, you know it.
Yeah, we gotta portray that in its realest sense.
The mediocrity sometimes freezes you. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you play golf your whole life, and then you top one, or you score one, or you shank one. You're like, I've put a lot of time and energy into this game, and it can shrink you down like in a moment.
And when I was editing that, I laughed watching it. That's why it's in there, because that actually cracked me up after the fact. It's rare, but sometimes, not with you personally, but
sometimes Matt's funny.
You know, if you're editing something, you're not necessarily reacting to it. It's like when you say LOL or haha on a text. You ain't laughing, right? You're just texting it. But sometimes you actually do laugh out loud, and those moments are important moments that a lot of times, you know, maybe you know, on Golf Channel is not going to put that in,
right,
on Journeys, but in our version of Journeys, you can. And I think, as you said, in the past, you weren't able to put out that kind of raw because it's, you know, the options were network television. Now the options, you know, YouTube, and we can make what we want and put it out there as we see fit.
There's never been a better time to do what you're doing, you know?
The disruption had already happened. It happened, you know, and you can reference Barstool as maybe one of the big cage rattlers that everybody recognizes, where you can build an audience without having mainstream or traditional, you know, distribution, right? That therein lies the, okay, now we can get a large audience without going traditional or conventional. Therefore, now the walls are down. And so I was definitely one of the voices trying to alert, you know, the higher ups at Golf Channel, like, if we keep bringing these people on our network, you're giving them platform, they're building their audience, this is a problem. Either ignore them or hire them. If you like them enough, hire them, make them in your ecosystem, or get them the f out. Because by bringing them on and making them experts and giving them this platform and letting them share the fact that they exist to all your audience, you're bleeding your own audience. Problem.
The audience might like those guys better.
Problem. Of course they do. Yeah. They're raw and authentic and real. You're gonna lose this battle.
All right, so where do you see this going, right? So things are becoming fragmented, like with the bigger media outlets, and, you know, take Golf Digest, Golf Channel, you know, Discovery, all these different things are starting to almost look like break down, you know? And these other people, places like Mygolfspy or you guys, or, you know, No Laying Up, are starting to rise up a little bit. So 5 years from now, where does this go? You know, like, are there just more outlets like us out there and less of them?
There isn't, because behind them they have all these crazy dollars, right? So they either end up buying up. It's not unlike they buy up the little places. You know, this is
Mom and pop shop.
Mom and pop shop. It's restaurants. Look. You know, it's happening in every other industry. It's like, oh, they're onto something, and then you either have a chance to try to change them internally or keep changing them externally, like forcing that. Right? In my opinion, you either get in and you try to like infiltrate and bring soul back, because we would never, and I'm sure you guys feel the same. You're not selling to have someone else do what you do. You know, look at a wine label. You create this great wine. You have a winemaker. It's a craft. It's an art. And then a big corporate comes in, buys that label, and then just starts churning out something similar at the same price point. Now you've lost you lost the label.
And it homogenizes everything. Where if there's a moment that happens, you know, say Ryder Cup, whatever, you know, Rahm and Rory stand up at the same time, and it's like, we're in a simulation or whatever, right? Like these like funny viral clips. PGA Tour posts it, Golf Digest posts it, Ryder Cup posts it, PGA posts, and you're like, wow, I've seen the same clip from like 10 different outlets.
It's not cool anymore.
It's the same content, right? So it's like that sort of, and that kind of comes from more of like the corporate brands that, you know, a lot of times push out the same stuff. You'll see Tiger's scorecard 10 different ways. And you're like, well, it's Tiger's scorecard. You've already seen it.
And that's what it is every single day. Don't be like everybody else, because once you become them, you are them. And you want to stay away from that, I think.
That was always the key to our success. And it was, you know, I came in, I wasn't, you know, I'm not a journalist by trade. I mean, I have an English degree, but that's the extent of it. I just did what I did and wrote what I wrote, and I didn't care. And, you know, moving to Mygolfspy and getting eyes on it and having people like, you can't do that. Why not? Like, why can't we do what we want to do this way? I'm like, well, that's just not how you do it. but why not? Because I did it, and it's there. I did do it, and it's exactly, and now it's done. And now I see whether it's, you know, you guys doing what you're doing. You mentioned like Barstool and No Laying Up. There are so many examples now of people who said, no, I'm gonna do it the way I want to do it. So I think maybe the floodgates are open, and I don't know, you know, what happens now for kind of the traditional way. Maybe it's like, you guys maybe shouldn't do it that way anymore.
Well, that transitions right into the country club versus community golf, you know? That's changing and transitioning too, I think. It's crossing, the media change has crossed over a threshold. The community versus country club, I don't think has yet, but, you know, places like this obviously exist, and you go, it's almost like until you know, you don't know. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, until you come out and see this,
You don't know.
like, I've seen municipal courses where dudes are out there in jeans and, you know, shooting 100, 120. I've seen that, but there's like really good golfers out here.
Another park like that is the Old Course. I mean, it's not a new idea, but golf just like lost its way somewhere. And I mean, I remember years ago, the local country club was low-key some of the members were trying to get me to sign up. And they're like, you know, the third Friday we went, you could wear jeans in the clubhouse.
Selling point.
And it was a big deal. I was like,
why is golf so stiff? I mean, why is golf so stiff?
it was so
It's
bizarre.
denim night at the club.
Seriously, like why is golf so stiff?
Yeah, you have to have the
I got
crease.
lost along the way. I mean, look at the old course. Look at the, like, essentially the oldest course, and it's rad and accepting. And what happened when it came, you know, to America, and then 100 years since then?
2 examples, you know, like a buddy of mine takes his kid out there. He's probably like 12 years old, goes up to the, you know, thing. He's like, hey, I want to play with my kid. And he's like, man, there's a couple groups out there. We don't, not today, man. And you're like, what if that was the only opportunity that kid ever had?
Now he's gonna play baseball.
What I've always thought is there's 3 things that get people to become golfers, right? If they can hit the sweet spot once and go, oh wow, I can actually do this. Get a par and get a birdie. And it doesn't matter if the hole's 32 yards or 300 yards. They believe that they can actually play this game, right? And the faster those 3 things happen, the better chance that person's gonna become a golfer, right? And it's pretty simple.
I loved hearing that old Tom was like that. Sheila Walker, his great-great-granddaughter, who we spent a ton of time with leading into the Open, who still lives in the flat overlooking the 18th green, which was his flat, but that she's most proud of the fact that what old Tom stood for was golf for all. That he resisted and went against this idea that it was going to be a game that was for the elite. That he very in large part was fighting for this to be accessible for anybody and everybody. The golf for all thing, to me, when you go out there on Sunday at St. Andrews and kids are riding bikes on this hallowed ground that is the 1st and 18th fairways of the old course at St. Andrews, and it's happening like, you know, 2 weeks before the Open Championship, and it's just a free-for-all, that's when you're like, oh my God, this is
far off.
To Alan's point,
Yeah.
the blueprint has always existed. And John Ashworth and Goat Hill Park, and what's happening here, we call him old, you know, old John Morris, and he's out here and he's working in the dirt and he's cultivating kids courses and that feeder system. You know, look at, you had Whistling Straits with 4 Pete Dye golf courses. You have Reynolds Plantation that has 6 championship golf courses. You know, they'd have me come in and I'd assess the portfolio. I'd be like, they're like, we're thinking about a 5th Pete Dye golf course at Whistling Straits. I'm like, what are you doing to these people? The people paid to play here. Look at your clientele. Who's running around at this place right now? Right. Families, kids, people. So now you're segregating the family to say, oh, the husband's gonna go play golf and the wife's gotta watch the kids and the kids have nowhere to go that equals anything resembling the game of golf, and you're a family destination. You're missing your clientele.
I also think people want to feel like welcome, you know what I mean? And
what a concept.
I have never in my entire life at a single course, I mean, I am a kind of a odd man out in the industry, meaning
in so many ways.
I feel it, I can sense it. I don't feel welcome, I don't feel like they want me there. And I haven't played this course, obviously, I've just walked up here. The first 2 dudes I walked up to, granted, they had recognized somebody from Mygolfspy, I guess, but they was like, hey man, what's up? Yeah. And I walked up, dude's got a t-shirt, pants on, just, there's people, we're walking through people's lines on the playground. I was like, sorry man, and they're like, yeah, it's all good, dogs running around. I see people that resonate with me, like as a human being, right? So I feel welcome. So it's the very first course that I've walked up to and I was like, yeah, I feel welcome. And I think if you don't feel welcome, you don't want to play, right? So think about all the different races of people that have been turned down for playing golf and felt like they were ostracized for being this or being that or looking like this or looking like that did not feel welcome. That's not a good feeling, man. And if you don't feel welcome when you walk into a pro shop, you don't want to play that sport. Why would you?
Adam, I think this is what you might have noticed, but when you pull up to Goat Hill Park, everything's right there in front of you. You can tell that's the range, you can tell that's the pro shop, you can tell that's the first tee. It's typically not what happens at most courses in America. I have literally been to courses where, I've played golf since I was 6 years old. I've been to private clubs, public clubs, and have gotten to travel in the last few years. A lot of times you pull up to the course, I literally don't even know to go left or right around the building that's in front of me.
It's a fortress.
Not to mention it's a long, physically speaking, it's a long, driveway, high hedges.
Got to get through the gate, right? You got to get through the gate.
I've played golf for 25 years. Like, how can I not find the pro shop or the first tee? Or like, if I have to ask somebody like, where's the range? Like, your shit is ass backwards. You know, like if
That
you
would
go
be like
if you go to the-
7-Eleven hiding the coffee somewhere, man. You
Yeah,
need to know where to
exactly.
go and get it. You know what I mean?
if you go to Scotland or UK and Ireland, you pull up into the car park and you're like, cool, there's a starter shack, there's the first tee. I know exactly what I'm doing. And it's this whole accessibility. It's like they're physically, it's a physical barrier to entry.
Here's the craziest thing about all of this, right? We're talking about golf in America and the development of golf in America and diversity of like what you're offering your clientele in terms of, short, long, whatever. Mike Kaiser, he didn't start building golf in the US until 1999, late 90s, right? He's become the #1 golf destination in America in about 20, 25 years by simply going back to the basics and saying, this is the way it is over here, and building links golf, making the best land golf, making it walkable, making it accessible, then watching his clientele and saying, oh, my guys aren't able to play 36 a day, so I'll build a short course. They're here, they need something to do. They're golfers reacting and pivoting to your point, Adam. Like, oh, I'll add short, I'll add a putting course. I'll never forget, I was like, Mike, you're adding a free putting course? That seems to like undermine your whole business. He's like, well, I can see what you're saying. But my business is not just like getting them here and trying to get as much out of them in one shot. It's getting them here and making them feel like they got enough value that they want to come back. So based on those very simple principles and philosophies of just going back to the basics, that I think can also translate into, where we are here at Goat Hill Park, or where you are with your company of like, I'm just trying to give people good information. We're just trying to give people the truth, right? Back
to the word, the basics, right? Like, I think that's where it went wrong. It got so far away from just the basics of why people want to do this that it wasn't this anymore. When you look at this, I'm not saying this doesn't take a lot of work to do, right? But when you look at it, it's pretty simple, man. Like, it's gotten really complex when you go to country clubs. It doesn't need to be. It's a fire pit, it's some beer, it's
hard to hide.
It's a hang,
things.
man.
Like,
it's not hard to create a hang.
Come here, show up, we'll say yes.
That's John's philosophy of like, this is more, this is community, this is transformation. When he first walked out here, he was held at knife point by a group of kids who were in a gang, teenagers, and he had to hold him back with one of the flag sticks. Like, some of those kids have gone on to like now come over here and spend time on this range, at this facility, at this golf course, not only playing golf, but with their families, have gone in to be in the caddy program. But like the trend, that's changing lives.
What do you see as the future of your enterprise? Like, where are you guys going to be in 5 years or 10 years? Like, I'd love to know the vision.
One of the daughters from JD Power, the daughter of JD Power, the guy that ran JD Power, reached out to me one time and was like, hey, I like what you're doing. Would you ever want to chat? I said, absolutely. So talked to her, and she sent me her father's book, and I was really impressed with what he did. They hated him, right? The industry despised Dave. And he was out to just make cars safer, simple. And he has, so he achieved that. But then he got to the point and he went, man, we're all living in these independent silos, right? So he did something called a symposium, and he started bringing all the manufacturers together. And they're not really willing to do that, but we're going to open up a new facility this year, a bigger one than we're in now, which is basically a glorified garage, and really want to start bringing the industry to us and have them all come together. So instead of a PGA show, it would be all the manufacturers, all the people in media come, and we all talk as a group of what are the problems that exist in the industry and how can we work together to solve them. And instead of putting the dollars first, put the problems first and the solutions up, So that's what I would like to do next.
That's kind of what Matt and I are trying to do, is we're taking all these best practices from Sports Illustrated and Golf Digest and Golf Channel and Golf Magazine, all these places we've worked, everything we've seen and done, and refine it into like rocket fuel that kind of runs our whole company with like, let everyone else make the mistakes. Like, we've learned all the lessons, and we're gonna just leave behind all the bull and we're just going to do it the right way. And you know, like it's 25, 30 years of you know, hard knocks to figure it all out. And you guys are 15 years into it, right? Like, you've learned a hell of a lot. So I think people would appreciate that and it's also kind of putting your money where your mouth is. It's like, oh, you know so much? Let's see it.
Back to what Ginella was saying, you know, like, get back to the basics, and if you can just do the basics well, that's all you really need to do to succeed, you know?
I harp on it all the time. Inform, inspire, entertain. Those are the three guiding lights of our whole. We got to leave people in that order. Inform, make people smarter about the world they live in. Inspire them to go or see it and do it for themselves. Get them up off the couch and be like, I want to see Goat Hill Park. I got to go see Bandon Dunes. Or I got to go to Ireland. Oh, that's it. I'm going. I'm going. I went because so that to me is like, oh my God, we got people up moving around. Because if you move around and you travel, then you learn. And if you learn, you're smarter. And if you're smarter, then we have a better world. And you're able to understand different cultures. What a concept. What a concept. You know, I went and saw and experienced another culture. Not enough people do that. And then if we can entertain them, make them laugh or cry or do both, now we're
Make it fun.
Now we're bonus time. Now we're bonus time.
That's what brings them back, right?
That's what brings them back.
The fun.
You know, but I mean, if I say this, if someone's going to spend 30 seconds with our content, or 30 minutes, or an hour and 30 minutes, and we can make them smarter, they're going to walk away going, at the very least, I got something.
If somebody has a question about golf equipment and we can become the clear source for them to go to get answers to those questions that they trust, to me, that's the success.
Yeah,
like,
at that point,
what is that?
You have a responsibility at that point to do that for people, right? If you're going to do it, you take on the responsibility to do it right.
Trust, responsibility, integrity, you know, truth, information.
We're not like, it's not that we're,
none of that's
not
new
novel.
or very creative. Yeah, that's like,
It's just excavating. It's excavating.
Old Tom Morris, right? Like, this is land. This is communal land used for golf. On Sundays we shut it down. Let it be accessible to everybody. Kids, like, to this day, it's still doing that, and they haven't changed it at the old course at St. Andrews. And how much does that cost them? Again, if money becomes more the thing, then they do away with that Sunday tradition a long time ago. But they didn't. The
truth is becoming extinct, right? And if you can put it out there, people want it. And if you can provide it for them, they will come and seek it out and find it.
Well, this is good stuff. I'm glad we got to wrap out. I mean, it's such a huge industry. We come at it from totally different places, but the perspective is pretty similar. So it's nice to meet you guys.
Next time in Bandon.
Yeah.
I accept your offer.
Yeah.
For me, it's pretty wild to be sitting here,
Likewise.
man. Like, when I first started this is not where I thought it would be. So
Nobody wanted anything to do with us anyway.
Oh no, I love it. I mean, I got walked out of Augusta National 2 years in a row. You know, like it's kind of the same.
That's
vibe.
gotta be a badge of honor, though.
Oh, obviously, but
I would also just say that nothing but respect for the fearlessness that you guys have shown in an industry that can, and especially now, it's like sort of, you don't appreciate your parents until you're a parent.
Right.
Like, you know, oh, okay, now I'm like, oh my God. I've always had respect for a fearlessness and for what you guys are doing and how you do it. But especially now that we're going out and trying to have that same fearlessness and you know,
while keeping the light
fight, you know, while also trying to build a business. So there's that fine line. But I mean, I got nothing but appreciation and respect for the role you're playing in an industry that can tend to chew that up and spit it out because of, you know, that disruption is danger, right? You know, and
Very threatening.
it wants to control the message, and anybody that wants to change that message, it wants to box you out like Shaq.